Hey everybody, it's Friday. It's the last morning Joe of the week. So excited to have you all. Two great guests today. Marco D'Angelo appearing on video. And Jeff Oskeim can't figure out how to make his Skype video work. So appearing audio only. Yes, you heard that right. A grown man can't find out how to make his video work. Anyway, I'm the Prez, co-founder of WagerTalk.com. Owner of Sports Memo, WagerTalk, and The Goal Sheet. And today, no baseball. We're going to look at 2 college football games and 3 NFL games. But before we do that, let's invite our guests in. Marco D'Angelo, my good friend and pal, my co-founder, the man that I just love talking to on a regular basis. By that, I mean once a month. How are you, my friend?
Never better, buddy. Never better. Look forward to getting grilled every Friday with you. It's the highlight of my week.
Well, it is for me as well, my friend. It is for me as well. Jeff, we've already established that we can't see you. How are you? How was your week?
Never looked better, by the way, Jeff.
Hey, Marco, I think it's my week in the barrel. I think
Right.
I'm the target today. It didn't start off too well. So let's see where we go. Although last week, Prez, I will say for the record, we recorded 45 minutes, and someone could not figure out how to get the audio working, apparently.
Yeah, well said, my friend.
A grown man could not get the audio working for Morning Joe.
Hey, Jeff,
Touche.
how old is your son now?
He's 7. He's 7.
I would bet money that he could come in and knows more about the computer than both of you two guys.
I'm willing to go with that. I couldn't agree more. Yeah, I'm an idiot. That's just the way it is. Guys, really fun show today. We're going to take apart 2 college football games and 4 NFL games, and we're going to get straight into it. The Northern Illinois game. Let's start there. I'm going to stay away from giving opinions out because really this show's about my guests. So Jeff, why don't you start, my friend? Talk to me about this Northern Illinois game.
Yeah, Prez, this is an interesting week on the college football card. It's actually the first weekend since October of 2017 that there isn't a game involving ranked teams. And what I went back and learned is when that happened in 2017, 7 ranked teams lost. 3 favorites of at least 16.5 points lost outright. One of the reasons why I like Northern Illinois in this spot is because Nebraska enters off a 34-31 overtime loss to Colorado after blowing a 17-0 lead. And if you look at the trends in that situation, college football home favorites entering off an overtime loss are just 58, 83, and 4 against the spread. That means if you fade these teams like Nebraska coming off an OT loss, it's a 59% winning proposition against the spread. Nebraska's lone win this season against South Alabama, which has one of the worst defenses in the league. The Cornhuskers were actually outgained by 38 yards and averaged just 4.2 yards per play. And they needed get this, the Cornhuskers needed an interception return TD, a punt return TD, and a fumble recovery TD to beat South Alabama 2 weeks ago. Also, they failed to cover their point spread in 5 straight September affairs, and they're 0-6 against the spread in 6 non-conference games, and they're 3-12 at home since September 2nd of 2017. This is a grossly overrated Nebraska squad. I would not be surprised at all if Northern Illinois pulls the upset, but I recommend taking the 2 touchdowns plus 14. They're 34-14 against the spread on the road. Take Northern Illinois, the Huskies, in a possible upset.
Marco, the consensus opening line was 15 for Nebraska. There's obviously money coming on Northern Illinois, just as Jeff said. It's dropped down to 14. We have a total of 54.5. I agree with Jeff. Nebraska just does not look that great. I wouldn't be shocked at an upset, but I'm with him. I'm taking the points. What are you doing, my friend?
Yeah, I agree. I actually do a radio show in Lincoln, Nebraska every week, so I have to follow the Huskers rather closely. And this is a team. Last week's game was a huge game for them. You know, the old rivalry with Colorado when both of these schools were in the Big 12. They renewed it last year. Nebraska lost opening week to Colorado at home, and it was a big revenge game. And they were selling 17-0 late in the third quarter. This is one of those games, Prez, where I like to say Nebraska has to be very careful or they're going to lose last week's game twice, having the hangover effect after blowing that game last week. And it's been the same story for for Nebraska in the first two games that started their season off last year at 6. Turnovers are killing the Huskers. 6 turnovers in 2 games. You cannot do that. I lean to the dog here, but I'll tell you where else I also lean to. I like the over in this game, and I think we're getting a little bit of value on the total. I felt this total should have been closer to 60. And one of the reasons that it wasn't is obviously Nebraska got to the over last week, but it needed that overtime to do so. And if you look at Northern Illinois, they only scored 17 points last week, but that was against Utah, one of the best defenses in college football. This Nebraska defense is nowhere near that. And Scott Frost, after blowing the big lead last week, will not take his foot off the gas. I lean to the dog. I also like the over in this game.
He's Marco D'Angelo, co-founder of WagerTalk.com. Jeff Oskeim from Oskeim Sports joining us. Guys, we're going to take a quick break, give out some promos, get back, talk a little bit of business, and get into another college football game. Hey, everybody, really quickly, Jeff Oskeim just absolutely killing it right now in all sports. I mean, listen to this. He is 69-39. That's 64% over the last 2 months of betting. That's 69-39. Over the last 2 months of betting, he has started the NFL season 4-1. He is 59.5% in his last 69 NFL releases. The guy is money in the bank. And I have 2 promos for you. Get 1 month of all of Jeff Oskeim's plays. Use the promo code Jeff199. Yeah, Marco is up to 430. Laugh all you want. Use the promo code Jeff199. That's $199 for a month of all his plays. As well, if you want his NFL season, $300 off, but it expires at midnight tonight. Only $495. Use the promo code Jeff495. That's Jeff495 for his entire NFL season and playoffs, and Jeff199 for a month of all his plays. So, big man, you got the #1 handicapping show ever recorded and put up on YouTube in history. You are like the, I don't remember the Korean guy's song, Macarena, Gaga Haga, I don't know. Shmuga Muga. You know what I'm talking about?
I have no clue what you're talking about.
Yeah, some guy
about,
like 5
Prez.
years ago, some Korean guy, Kung Pao, I don't know. Anyway, congratulations. The show's unbelievable, Marco. The production quality is ridiculous. The sound quality is so good. The studio looks amazing. VR is so much better than you. The balance is perfect. Kelly is ridiculous. I mean, it's like you have a superstar with VR, an incredible host with Kelly, and then you. Just perfection.
Do you sense a little bit of jealousy there, Jeff? With that, he's given the show, it's kudos, but there's always got to be an asterisk there.
There's no asterisk. The show's unbelievable. I literally give the show an 8.9 out of 10.
Yeah, and if you were in the middle seat instead of me, it would be a 10, right?
Probably a 7. Because I don't. I'm a lone wolf, baby. I do my NFL shows without help.
Yeah. Prez, all kidding aside, it has been an amazing, just the responses that we have gotten to the show so far. I am really pumped about it. I've been in this business for 40 years, and this show's really got the creative juices going again for me, and looking forward to a big season. We're putting a lot of effort into the show, and hey, you can have all of the flash that you want, with the nifty studio and everything, but you got to bring winners to the show, and the hard work that we're putting in to deliver that and make it entertaining as well. I'm very proud of that and looking forward to it. And, you get down here to Vegas, I'll let you watch a taping.
Oh, Marco. Oh. The show's called Bet On It. It's taped every single Tuesday. It's up online, WagerTalk TV, YouTube.
Wednesday. You're Tuesday.
No, I'm Wednesday also, actually. I tape Wednesday morning. Kelly practices with me. I'm foreplay.
What can I say, buddy? What can I say?
Jeff Oskeim, I hear you laughing in the background. Your NFL show is incredible. Oh, wait, you don't have one. How are you, Jeff?
Wait a minute. Aren't I going to get one?
Well, yeah, because we need another one. I already had one guy rip off my idea. Now I need two.
Marco, where are the views at with your show, by the way?
Oh, we don't talk about those things.
Last week we had 35,000 views. We're already at over 15,000 for this week. And Prez, you know how you have that scroll going across the bottom of the screen? I think you should have the updates every time we hit another 1,000 views that's scrolling across there, so everybody knows how many people are tuning into that show.
Yeah, well, so everybody, that's a great segue. I'm having sound and technical issues because I'm a moron. I mean, look, at least I can figure out how to turn a video on Skype. But, yeah, I'm a technical...
Hitting the record button's been a problem, though.
No, yeah, I've recorded every show. I just can't seem to figure out how to make the sound perfect. So, yeah, if you see a show today that doesn't have a scroll on the bottom, that's because that one didn't work well. I'm taping it twice. So be it. Guys, let's get into it. Maryland... Temple.
If I get an email after the show with the title fuck, I know he did not get the audio working again, Marco. So look out for that email.
Well, I got
fuck.
Yeah, I got the email and the live phone call. I got the bad news over the phone.
Should we just go to a commercial break again? Maryland versus Temple.
Do the college game.
Yeah, I'm trying, dude. I'm trying. Jeff.
Yes.
Maryland versus Temple tonight. Not tonight, but Maryland is -7. Again. The over and under is 6.5. We spoke about this game a lot. And Marco, you're going to do the lead breakdown on this. I really like the over in this game, even with the line move. We saw Maryland put up a ton of points last week, and Temple's always worthy of some scores. We went from 62 to 66.5. I've lowered my bet size substantially because of that, but I'm still on the over. Where are you going in this one?
Well, Prez, I always do a segment called the Sandwich Game of the Week, and
that would require me listening to your entire Bet On It show. So, yeah, no, I don't. I do fast forward it because I want to see and hear little pieces of it.
But this would actually be for the deal we do with gaming today. So it wasn't on Bet On It. It was on one of the other videos. But this was a candidate for the Sandwich Game of the Week. And why I'm calling it a horrible scheduling spot for Maryland is they're coming off that big game last week against Syracuse. Now, that was a non-conference game. Some people do think that the ACC still has Maryland in it, but I won't mention anybody's names on that one. But they were former conference foes, and so that was a game that they were up for. And after beating Howard, everybody said, well, okay, that was Howard. And, and I was one of them. I was on Syracuse. I won't hide the fact last week. And they just steamrolled Syracuse last week. Syracuse defense is horrendous. This week, they're going to face a better defense in Temple. Now, why I'm calling it the sandwich game is they're coming off of Syracuse. They travel on the road for another non-conference game against Temple. But look who they have on deck. Now, granted, it's not for 2 weeks, but it's still on deck, is they've got the Penn State Nittany Lions to open their Big Ten Conference home opener against Penn State. This is a spot where Maryland gets exposed. 79 points and 63 points. Yeah, that's all fine and dandy, but they're going to actually face a defense, and that defense is had 2 weeks to prepare. They had their opening game against Canisius, rolled them 56-12, then got that week off to do nothing but prepare for Maryland. They will slow this Maryland offense down. I like Temple plus the points here. Grab the touchdown with them. I think they actually can win this game outright. I'll go ahead, take Temple plus the points. That is my college play for you, Prez.
Jeffrey, do you agree or disagree with Marco?
I agree with Marco. I really like Temple plus the points in this game as well. I mean, my math model has Maryland favored by 6.27 points, so the line is fair. But if you look at the Owls, since 2015, Temple is 16-5 against the spread with 10 outright wins as an underdog. And the key in this game will be Temple's defense. Their new defensive coordinator, Jeff Knowles, who I really, really like. He came over to Temple from Northern Illinois with head coach Rod Carey. His defense last year at Northern Illinois had 50 sacks and allowed 23 points per game. I have Temple as the highest rated secondary in the AAC, and they have the best linebacking group in the AAC as well. I do recommend taking Temple plus the points. I think Maryland is going to come back down to earth. Take Temple.
He's Jeff Oskeim, Marco D'Angelo with us. I'm the Prez, Lawrence Presman. You can find all of us at WagerTalk.com. Guys, let's talk a little bit of NFL. Jeff, we'll go to you first. We're going to talk about the Eagles versus the Falcons and what really should be a fun game to watch. Eagles looked really bad first half last game against Washington, and then they came out and just stretched the field. Deshaun Jackson opened up everything. Their wide receivers are speedy. Atlanta, well, I don't know how they are against the pass because, well, Minnesota didn't pass the ball. Atlanta looked terrible last week. Head coach Dan Quinn was utterly shocked. And now Atlanta finds themselves +2 at home. The over and under came out at 51. We have a 53 on the board. You know, for me, I lean on the over in this game. I've lost value already. I'm not going to get to the window in this game. I'm actually going to be passing outright. Where are we going, Jeff?
Prez, I really like the Falcons in this game. Week 2 of the NFL regular season, I always deem it overreaction week.
Oh, you're the only one, Jeff. No one else has ever deemed it that.
I am the only one.
Yeah, it's like
trademark the phrase.
Way to come up with that incredibly creative name there, Jeff.
You like that?
Yeah.
So the betting public essentially places their bets in week 2 solely based on the results in week 1. If you look at the Falcons, I still have them ranked as one of the top 5 teams in the NFL. Their 7-9 record last season was grossly misleading. It was driven basically by a defense that suffered early in season injuries to Ricardo Allen, Neal, and Deion Jones. And they missed, between Neal and Jones, they missed a combined 25 games in 2018. They're both healthy now. And why that's significant is that Neal ranks 7th in run stop percentage among safeties in 2017, while Jones is one of the best coverage linebackers in the NFL. The Falcons also experienced a lot of variance last year. Their opponents made every single one of their field goal attempts, something that has not been done since 2010. The Falcons also recovered only 38% of the fumbles last year over a period of a season, over a period of a couple of years. That's a 50-50 proposition. That's totally random. I expect positive variance in favor of the Falcons. And finally, since 2009, NFL teams off a season-opening road loss are 41-25-1 at home in week 2. I strongly recommend taking the Falcons plus the points. Actually, my math model favors the Falcons by 0.5 point in this game. So take the bonus points with the Falcons.
Marco D'Angelo in that stylish shirt. What do you like?
I agree with Jeff on the Atlanta side in this game. Atlanta looked like a team last week that didn't play their starters in the preseason at all. Oh, wait, they didn't, and it showed. They went up against the team, Minnesota, that did play to win all preseason. and came out and smoked their opponent, Atlanta, last week. And the other team that went full throttle in the preseason was the Baltimore Ravens. What they do last week, they looked a lot better than they actually are. I am going to the over, though, in this one, Prez, and it's not often me and you line up on the same side, but I agree with you. And the reason I agree with you is if you remember, these two teams played last year. Opening night, the Thursday night game, because Philadelphia was coming off the Super Bowl win. The Thursday night game in Philadelphia, Atlanta, as I mentioned, is a team that doesn't play their starters during the preseason. And Philadelphia, if you remember last year, still no Carson Wentz because he was rehabbing from the injury that kept him out of the Super Bowl the year before. And Nick Foles didn't have the greatest start to the season last year. The offenses struggled. It was a snooze fest, much like what we saw last night with Tampa Bay and Carolina. Now this is a week 2 setup. Both teams got a game under their belt. They are going to be crisper on offense, and I just think the over is the way to go here. Philadelphia got exposed last week, their secondary. Case Keenum threw for 370 yards without Washington offense and not the best offensive line in the NFL, let me tell you that. I like Atlanta to be able to move the football. Home opener, Sunday night. The crowd's going to be crazy. We'll go ahead and take this one over the total. Winning team definitely is going to hit 34 or plus points in this game. That's going to get us over the total. We'll go ahead and take Atlanta and Philly over Sunday night.
Guys, let's talk about what I think could be the game of the week, a real sexy game between New Orleans and the Rams. We've got some money coming in on the Saints. The opening line consensus-wise was -3 for the Rams. It didn't stay around long. And now we're down to -2. The over and under has also dropped 54-52. And that to me is a bit of a surprise because obviously both these teams can score a ton. You know, I took this game apart in the second most watched handicapping show on the internet, the NFL Presidential Address. Get it out, Marco. Get it out.
No. You know what? Avis made it. Wasn't it Avis that used the commercials? You know, they try harder because they were number 2. All those years with those ad campaigns. Hang in there, buddy. Hang in there.
Okay, anyway. I like the Rams in this game. That's the bottom line. If you want to hear my entire take on this, just check out the NFL Presidential Address. Rams -2 for me. Marco?
You did watch Bet On It show because you know I am all over the Rams in this game. Normally, guys, out in full disclosure, normally I would automatically be on the Saints in this game. We all use the word revenge in sports betting, and it's the most overused word in sports betting. But there are certain situations where it is super strong, and that is playoff revenge. So normally I would be all over the Saints here, and we know what kind of playoff revenge it was. It was the NFC Championship game in Prez. Pure and simple. The referees bent the Saints over and gave it to them, you know where, with that blown call. They've had to think about that all off season. And that's all we've heard about is that blown call. And, yeah, they want their revenge. But you know what? Somebody else had to hear the flip side to that story, and that's the Rams. They had to hear how lucky they were and gifted the game. They shouldn't have been in the Super Bowl, and then they went on and lost the Super Bowl. The Rams have something to prove. And here's where I'm going with this game. As you said, we've seen the market move this game to 2. Last year, the playoff championship game, it was -3 in New Orleans. That means these two teams are pick 'em. You take the home field advantage is the difference in these two games. So that means the Rams should have been 3 to start this line, which is where it opened but moved down. But even at 3, the line was wrong. And here's the difference. Last year, Todd Gurley was 0, no factor at all in the NFC Championship game. He was running on one leg, had no numbers at all in that game. 2, Cooper Kupp was not on the field last year for the NFC Championship game. That one player meant the most to the Rams. If you look at all of the advanced metrics with Jared Goff, the games where Cooper Kupp was in versus the games where Cooper Kupp was out, that offense ran way more efficient when he was in the lineup. And you saw last week, first game back after that nasty injury, They went to him 11 times, targeted him in plays, 7 receptions. That is Jared Goff's go-to guy. If a play's breaking down, he's going to look for him. Where are those two factors in this line this week? That you got to put a point. Cooper Kupp's worth at least a half to a point, I feel, in this offense. And a healthy Todd Gurley, 14 carries last week, 97 yards. If he gets it rolling, and you saw the way Houston moved the football on the Saints last week on that Monday night game, they did go up and down the field with them 180 yards on the ground. Rams roll big Sunday.
Jeff, do you agree?
I totally agree with Marco's breakdown on it. And the key is going to be the Rams are home, and the disparity between Jared Goff at home versus Jared Goff on the road is pretty significant. At home, he's averaging 313 yards and 8.8 yards per attempt and 2.1 touchdowns per game over a 15-game span. And when he's on the road, he's only averaging 233 yards at 7.6 yards per attempt and 1.7 touchdowns per game, and that's over a 17-game span. And the key is, and Marco alluded to this earlier, is wide receiver Cooper Kupp. When he's on the field with Jared Goff, they're averaging 9.2 yards per attempt. Goff is over 11 games. I think you're going to see the Saints cornerbacks, in particular Lattimore, Apple, and Williams. They're going to be exploited in this game. Last week, they allowed 10 catches for 155 yards and 2 touchdowns on 14 targets to the Texans. I think the Rams and their wide receivers finished 3rd in receiving, 5th in receptions, and 8th in touchdowns last year. This has blowout written all over it. I agree with Marco completely. Take the Rams plus the points in this game.
Guys, let's take a quick commercial break, and then we're back with 2 more NFL games. Hey, everybody, really quick. Marco D'Angelo, my partner at WagerTalk.com, he is 6-1 in his last 7 college football 5% plays. He is 2-0 this year in his college football 5% plays. 2 weeks ago, he had Virginia minus 2.5. They won 30-14. Last week, he has USC minus 3. They won 45-20. Neither of those games have been close. He's also got a nice NFL card up for Sunday. You can have the next 3 days of his plays for $49. Use the promo code Marco49. That's Marco49. Guys, New York Giants. At home, hosting Buffalo. Buffalo's 2nd game in that stadium this year. 1 game more than the New York Giants. Line opened at a pick'em. It's now Buffalo minus 1.5 with an over and under of 44. I took this game apart in the Prez NFL address. You can hear it in full detail with me and Kelly. It's up at our YouTube channel, WagerTalk TV. Bottom line, and I'll go to you, Jeff, first. I like the Giants in the spot. Talk to me.
Guess what, Prez? This is overreaction week. This is another game. I don't know if you heard that or not. But
yeah,
it's
overreaction week. That's
here.
Good stuff, man. I'm going to use that.
Yes, it is. So what we have here is recency bias, and I'm upset that you like the Giants because I do as well. If you're taking a look at this, it falls into my favorite. It's probably my favorite NFL system, which is investing against NFL teams that begin the season with back-to-back road games like Buffalo. These road teams are 1-14 against the spread since 2015, losing by an average of 8.4 points and falling short of the point spread by 6.5 points. That is by far my favorite NFL system. If you look at the Giants, they lost 35-17 last week, but they gained 470 total yards against the Cowboys' 494 yards. The Giants finished with more first downs. They finished with more rushing yards, but they lost 2 fumbles. Eli Manning, he was actually serviceable last week. He completed 30 of 44 passes for 306 yards, and Eli Manning is 11-3 straight up and 10-2-2 against the spread in his career versus AFC East foes, including 7-0 as an underdog, whereas the Bills are 2-9 in this series, and they're 0-6 in their last 6 road games versus sub-500 teams. I really like the Giants in this spot. In fact, the look-ahead line, Prez, was Giants. They were favored by 1.5. Now they're getting 1.5, and some books are moving to 2. I'm looking at Westgate right now in my live odds feed. They're showing 2 right now. and same with Bet Phoenix. If you can get 2, the Giants, a very strong play. The values with New York, take them at home at +1.5, +2.
Mr. D'Angelo?
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback right on with all you guys with the Giants. And Prez, is Jeff said about the Westgate line. One of the segments we have this year on Bet On It is we are going to look at those Westgate look-ahead lines and what the current line is in Vegas. And we're going to go not only on week 2, which is known as overreaction week, you might have heard that somewhere, is all season long, we will say, is this line move justified or is it an overreaction? And clearly, the New York Giants is an overreaction. And, Jeff, that stat about teams playing back-to-back week 1 and 2 on the road, the beauty of it this week with the Buffalo play is if this game loses, you can put an asterisk in there and say, doesn't count if they're playing in the same stadium on back-to-back weeks on the road.
That's very fair. That's a good point.
Yeah, and literally it's on the road. I mean, they probably drove there.
Yeah, this is probably the shortest back-to-back road trip in the history of the NFL. But the Giants, and as Jeff said, Eli Manning surprisingly over 300 yards passing last week. He knows he's got to perform because he hears the nipping at his heels with the backup quarterback, Daniel Jones, from Duke. The thing that really got me excited about the Giants was they had 151 yards rushing last week on just 17 carries. They need to rely more on that running game. And I'll tell you, Eli will be just fine if the running game clicks. Eli's gotten a lot of shit the last few years about his performance. And let's face it, the numbers haven't been good. But he has had horrendous offensive lines over the last 5 years. Probably some of the worst in the NFL. And he's had, until they drafted Barkley, they've had no running game at all. And if you have a bad offensive line and no running game, they're just going to pin their ears and come at you in the passing game. Now they've got balance, and the Giants are going to be much better performing efficient-wise with the balanced attack. Buffalo, I agree. Go second week on the road. They had a sloppy game last week. 4 turnovers, and they were able to win. Now we figure out why they were able to win. Darnold had mono last week. He didn't just get this. His performance last week was horrid, and now we know why. I'm not sold on Buffalo at all. Giants, live spot here. And I'll tell you what else is a very live spot. If you guys are playing teasers in the NFL, taking the Giants on the 6-point teaser, you're getting them through all of the key numbers of 3, 4, 6, and 7, and you're doing it in a game that has a very low total. That makes the teaser even more positive EV because points are going to be at a premium. We're dealing with a total that opened at 43. I think we're up to 44 right now. Still, 44 in today's NFL is a low total. I like the Giants, and I will be using the Giants on some teasers on Sunday.
Marco, that's a really great point about teasers. And by the way, on the NFL presidential address, the second most watched handicapping show on the internet, but clearly the best handicapping show on the internet, the number 1 show to watch first, then go to your show. We actually have a teaser segment at the end of our show, so there's another thing you can steal from me. I'll be looking for that next week.
We already have a teaser segment, buddy.
So this show will be the most watched. This show will be the most watched, Prez, once I get the video fixed.
I don't know, Jeff. I've seen you. LA Chargers, Detroit. Guys, I got nothing on this game at all. I got no thoughts. Gun held to my head. I'm under the total of 48, but other than that, I not only am I not going to the window with this play, I'm not even walking into the building. Jeff, this is Marco to talk first, which just gives me so much pleasure. I get to hear him again. Marco, take this game apart.
Yeah, you know why you want no part of this, Prez? Because you got a very tiny, tiny set. That's why. You need a big set to go to the window and say, give me the Detroit Lions plus 2.5. You know, it takes a set to do that. And sometimes you just got to man up hold your nose when you go to the window.
Yeah,
and
you're
say
almost 60, Marco. I will admit that your set is a lot bigger and danglier than mine. Now, continue.
Well, you know what? It's gravity. I'm sorry, buddy. It happens. But you're looking at this one. You got the Chargers that are coming West Coast to East Coast playing Detroit. The Lions in this game, last week, they gave the game away. And what was Matt Patricia thinking, calling the timeout at the end of the game, the clock management, when you've got the lead? You're not calling a timeout and stopping the play clock. It's idiotic what they did in that game. I'm going to look at this one here. I'm taking Detroit. The Chargers, 1 o'clock start. They're coming off their home opener that they had to go to overtime as well. And the takeaway from last week's game is the fact that Indianapolis was able to run the football very efficiently last week. 203 yards on the ground, 33 carries. Now stop and think about that. Jacoby Brissett was the quarterback. Backup quarterback coming in for Andrew Luck. The Chargers were going to stack the line and dare them to throw the football. They were playing to stop the run, and they couldn't stop the run. I know the Lions are not a good running football team, but they do have a good running back in Kerryon Johnson. I think they go to the running game this week, and they have success. And Matthew Stafford, he's not Jacoby Brissett. All right, he's going to expose this secondary. And if you saw that drive at the end of the game, playing at home for Indianapolis to drive the length of the field, get the game tying touchdown and 2-point conversion to send that thing to overtime, that scares me about the Chargers defense. And it's a home opener for the Lions. It's the only time Lions fans can be excited is that home opener, because after that, it's all downhill. I'm sorry, Johnny Detroit. That's just the way it goes. The Detroit Lions seasons goes the same direction as Prez made a reference to My Family Jewels. It's just downward. And a little side note, Prez, do you know that this is the first time in 3 years the Chargers will be playing a game in a dome? Huge advantage for the Lions. I'm calling the upset here. It's not much of an upset at 2.5-point home dog, but I am all over Detroit in this one. And if you watch that number one watch show, you would already know that I'm on this side.
Jeff just keeps saying to himself, why am I on the Friday show with Marco and Prez?
No, I love this. This is great.
Okay, Jeff, what do you like?
I'm with Marco on this one. Detroit
you
Lions
guys
plus
bore
the
me.
points. I'm sorry. I wish I could give you something else, but I do like the Lions plus one. And I think Marco and I have a lot of similarities in how we break these games down and with situational spots. But the key here for the Chargers, once again, injuries are starting to pile up for them. They lost their tight end, Hunter Henry. He's out for 4 to 6 weeks with a fractured knee. And the latest I heard was wide receiver Mike Williams has been missing practice this week with a sore knee, and he's highly questionable for Sunday's game. And that would be devastating for the Chargers. I mean, if you look at it, Henry and Williams combined for 24% and 40% of the Chargers' target share in air yards in week one. And if Henry and Williams are both out, Phillip Rivers is in trouble. He has wide receivers Travis Benjamin, who had 12 catches last year, Dontrell Inman with 28 catches, and then a tight end in Sean Culkin, who's had 1 reception. I think also Detroit's going to be able to pound the rock in this game. Johnson, I think Marco alluded to this. I mean, the Chargers' front seven was not very good last year. They were horrific last week against the Colts. They allowed 203 rushing yards at 6.2 yards per carry. Defensively, I think Detroit's going to have very little issues here. They're a top 5 defense in the league, and they actually revamped their pass rush with the additions of Trey Flowers and Mike Daniels. I mean, Flowers has 21 sacks over the past 3 seasons, and Kennard actually recorded 7 pressures last week. He's the returning starter on the line. I really like the Lions plus the points. I'm looking right now at my live feed. It's down to 1.5, Marco. I'm not sure. You probably bet it when it hit 2.5, but it's down to 1.5 at most books.
Guys, my incredible, sexy, awesome girlfriend has just walked in. So the timing of the show ending is perfect. Thanks everyone for watching. Really quickly, we'll go over the promotions one last time. Marco 49, that's $49 for the next 3 days of Marco's plays. Jeff 199 for 1 month of all of Jeff's plays, his baseball, his college football, and his NBA. And if you want Jeff Oskeim's season in NFL all the way through to the Super Bowl, it's $300 off until midnight. Use the promo code Jeff495. I don't want to hear another word out of either of you guys. Marco, again, congrats on your incredible show. There's no jealousy here. Me and you both own WagerTalk. I'm just excited to be in second behind you. Love you both. Thanks so much, everyone. Please make sure to comment on our YouTube channel because I actually do respond to almost every single comment up there, including the ones that are mean and call me a douche and whatnot. I'm going to leave you. I hope to be a douche this afternoon. Prez, out.